And you got to say, hey, this could be a really good thing. My kid loves video games. My kid's great at video games. Not in all cases, but in some cases you can flip that. You can send your kids to camps. You can get your kids involved in Visual Studio, web design, making video games. Your kid can join the Army like Jake, one of my students, who's actually oppositional defiant and ADHD. He went to Iraq. He's now, and the Army doesn't know that he had those diagnoses, by the way, and I will deny them. But he's now in Iraq, and he's gotten promoted. He's like, I guess he's a lance corporal or something, and he's doing one of those battlefield monitoring things where he's watching troops and he's interacting, and he's great. He loves it. And he's got this whole network monitoring thing, which I don't really understand. And he told me that when he gets back, he's got all these jobs that he knows he can do to make a lot of money. So I think there is another side to this that we have to be aware of, that we can, if we're very careful and we're very deliberate, and if as parents and loved ones we come up with a program and have lots of follow-through for a while, because it takes a long time, we might be able to turn this around. We might be able to turn it into a positive. Let me take 2 more questions and then I'm going to move on. Yes, sir?
Yeah, what percentage of people, when they do buy video games, end up being addicted to them?
Well, I think that's a really hard question to answer, because I think it's a spectrum, and this gentleman is talking about a subpopulation that really can get hardcore with them. I think my unscientific, anecdotally arrived at conclusion is that probably 15 to 20% of boys game excessively, and a much lower percentage of girls game excessively. But I think it's close to 1 in 5 boys cannot responsibly game. Now, when you talk about kids that I see, because I'm an ADHD coach, it's about 90% of boys. And the girls that don't have excessive gaming issues are excessive online networkers with Facebook, AIM, or even the ones who are not real social, they're excessive computer people. So this is the population that I deal with. So for me, it's normal, all this stuff. One quick question. Yes, ma'am.
Well, like with, do you consider the gaming the same kind of addiction as like alcohol and drugs? And if you do, abstinence is what is promoted for that. So shouldn't it be the same? I mean, how can you a little be okay? I mean,
well,
isn't it just...
that is an excellent question. And first of all, I don't think that video games and computer games, it's not monolithic. For example, and I think it's less like alcoholism and more like compulsive shopping, okay? Because we live in a world where computers are all over the place. So I can play Wii, okay? I can't play Command and Conquer, I can't play Gettysburg, I can't play Antietam, I can't play anything that we call real-time strategy because I can't stop and I lose track of time. And so for me, those games are games that my neural circuitry cannot handle. But I have kids that come to my ADHD study groups, and I have a Wii there, and when we'll take study breaks. Oh, did you get your math done? Good. She just got her paper done. Let's go upstairs. We'll play 4-person Mario Kart or whatever. And it's a really good community building thing, and it also models to kids that gaming is a social thing. It's a community thing. That being said, some people cannot. There are those who cannot do it at all, and they have to completely abstain from the activity. But if you got a person for whom the addiction is more of a console-driven, like Xbox or whatever, then you can totally get rid of those. But for those of us who are computer people, a lot of us have to use computers for our jobs, and it's impossible, to get rid of those. So does that make sense, though? The more the shopping addiction model, then because you have to go to stores, or over food addiction.
Yeah.
You got to eat, right? And I think that computers are playing such a prominent role in our personal and business lives.
Computers, it's the game.
Yeah, but you can't. What I'm saying is that for many of us, the computer is the interface through which we game, and so when we have to go on the computers, and so it becomes it becomes an issue. You see what I'm saying? That we can't, because ideally we could totally avoid computers and we could totally avoid games, but it's not going to happen. So it's tricky. It's a tricky question, and I'm fine with limiting myself. I know what games I have to avoid. So let's move on. We'll go on. All right, steps toward recovery. Again, elaborate rationalization, sustained denial. Hey, I'm saving the Confederacy. Hey, I'm learning about Robert E. Lee. Hey, I'm learning about war. This is great. I'm learning about history. This is going to help me when I'm a contestant on Jeopardy at some point in the near future. Elaborate rationalizations. Okay, I can't stop. I've got too many friends, and my guild is counting on me. I have to go home and game. I don't want to game, but my guild is gaming. If I'm not there, they're going to go on that raid in that dungeon, and where's that going to leave them? I got to support those people.
I'm a healer.
Right. Thank you. I'm a healer. Hail. Hey, I'm going to use that one. That's a good line. Next one. Okay, so friends helped me come out of denial. Actually, one friend of mine caught me gaming during the 49-hour binge, and he kind of stayed on my case, and eventually he brought a group of people together that sort of intervened and challenged me. And it's really, he had an intervention with me, and that's what helped me, come out of that behavior. Let's go ahead and move on. But the first thing you got to do, and there's so many gray areas, because like this gentleman with Cleveland Indian there, he said that if he takes the game away or threatens his son melts down, and he doesn't think, and you've probably already tried it. Maybe you thought, did you ever think, well, he's going to melt down, then a few days it'll be fine, but then it didn't get fine, did it?
No.
Right. So this gentleman's obviously got to try a different approach. But I think the first thing I have to do with addiction, I think the first thing any of us have to do when we're the person watching the addiction, is we have to be careful and point out to ourselves and maybe ask friends to see what they might observe in us. How am I enabling the addiction? How am I enabling things to get out of hand? And that's a really tough one. And especially if you're a mother, because the motherly instinct is to help and to nurture, and you want your kids to have what they want. You want, maybe for fathers too, but I think more mothers, And then how do you balance that? So that's a really, really tough thing. I actually have had some mothers of some kids that have come to see me who go to like Al-Anon, or they go to Codependence Anonymous to work on their enabler issues. It's a very tough thing. Let's move on. So here are some things that I think, and obviously we're short on time. I don't have the time to go through every single solitary issue, but here are some things that I think work. First of all, you're a parent of a kid, your kid starts getting 5, 6, I would begin discussions about video game problems. I would start talking to those kids very early. Hey, did you hear, I was reading on the Yahoo that this one kid played video games so much that he died right in front of the game. That happened. There was a kid in Korea who had deep vein thrombosis. He played for 27 hours and he did it like repeatedly. This has happened in Korea, and he got deep vein thrombosis. Boom, he's dead. And it's happened, several times. People have had heart attacks, so on and so forth. But begin the discussions. I was talking to Bobby's mom, and he's playing. I love Xbox, but he's playing Xbox so much that he's getting really bad grades in school. How do you, what do you think about that? But begin the discussions, and don't have the, just talk about it with your kids early and let them know that it could be a problem. Sharing versus lecture. Again, start the talk so you can just talk about it in an easy and laid-back way. Obviously, you guys are most people who are in here are probably way past this point, but this is good advice to share with the general population. But just begin those discussions. Share with your kids. Don't talk to them. You need to have credibility on gaming. So that brings us to the next one. If you can't beat them, join them. There's no better way to get in. If you have a kid that's totally unplugged from reality, maybe you should play a little bit too. I advise parents when their kids start like 5, 6, 7, learn those video games, because video games comprise a central facet of youth and teen culture today. Okay? And if you could become conversant on video games, if you could become good at some of the video games, or at least enjoy playing them, that's going to allow you to connect with your kid and to be plugged in. I have this boy, Andy, and Andy has some serious video gaming issues. World of Warcraft, but he can play Wii fine. So I'll play with him, and when he comes over, and he tells me so much stuff while he's playing Wii that he never tells me when we're not playing. There's something about being plugged in with him to the game that lends itself to sharing with me. And so I just think it's a powerful medium for connection. And most people, our age, we're all the same age, plus or minus 10 years. Oh, I don't know how to work that thing. I can't even figure out that controller. Well, learn. Let your kid teach you. Let your kid have some power in teaching you. If your kid can teach you something, that puts the relationship more on an equal footing and allows you to be a different type of advocate with your kid.